came by the tasting room. Bradley Dry, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You brought something that smells delicious.
Yeah,
We'll get to that in a little bit. We have some really good toasted barrel bourbon to sip on and just talk through what you're up to now. So tell everybody, let's start with this. I like to get this out of the way first. Your official title for what it is that you do is what?
Well, I mean, I feel like I have like a lot of titles.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
But the one that I'm working on right now is craft services for production. Mind you, I haven't worked in like 3 months since we wrapped, but still, it's really nice. Like that's what I can call myself now instead of being like someone that runs a kitchen, someone that does events, and all this stuff. So I just say a craft service person.
Okay. But I think that doesn't do justice to, because I think when people hear that, unless you're in some sort of the production world, they probably think of craft as the mac and cheese in a box, right?
Not the blue box.
And so give me a little more detail for a layman. Like, how would you explain to someone that you meet?
I say it like I've been doing it for years, and this is like my first time doing it. So craft services, like crafty, if you will. That's what everyone does.
That's
so,
what, yeah.
Yeah, so they're in charge of like keeping snacks, whatever, like and keeping everyone fed, be it like, so for the last project I was on, we did hot meals every day. And then we also took care of like drinks, waters, coffees, and like that. But it was nice I'm sure every production's different, which I know for sure it is.
Yeah.
But my experience on the, this last production was like the first time I've ever done anything like it.
Can we talk about what you've been on and what you...
Sure. I mean, I finished season 2 of Res Dogs.
Gotcha.
We shot that from March till June, and then like I said, I did so well on that, and then it was a day, like every day except for Saturday and Sunday. It could be anywhere from 12 to 14 hours, which was fine. But
it's long days though.
Yeah, they're long days, and it was really hot outside. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But we'd get there before the sun came up, and then leave as it was going down.
So are people that work in craft services like you do at that level, are you independent contractors? Do you work for specific studios? How does the...
So I got hired on because Sterling's one of my like best friends. He's like a big brother to me.
Let's get him on the podcast. Can we do that?
Yeah,
I've been trying to reach out to him, but he doesn't know me.
I'm sure he's not.
Yeah,
he's pretty busy.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but
we'll find time.
Yeah, we'll pencil it in.
Yeah.
So he asked me. I did all the on-screen food for the first season. So I didn't do like, that's the extent I had for that. So all the greasy fry bread and all that. I made like 100 of those, and then...
Were you just sick of fry bread?
I mean, I still love it, but like it's just crazy to think about how much I've cooked since then. But I did that, and then after they wrapped season 1, I did the premiere party also. So I made enough food for like 300 people.
That's what we were talking about, American Solera, the other night. Yeah.
So I mean, all the meat pies that you'd see on the TV show, I made like 500 of those by myself, like by hand, and that was an ordeal.
So did you get that because of your friendship with Sterling?
Yeah.
Okay. And then that led to now, did Paramount pick you up for like all of their stuff?
So that's FX.
That is FX.
Yeah, that's FX for Hulu, and I did that, and then the stuff with Paramount is still like in the air right now.
Okay.
So but like I would definitely be, whenever it's announced, season 3 of Res Dogs, I'll be back.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And you're about to head where? Because that's cool.
I'm supposed to be going to Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be really cool. Can we talk about what show and that sort of thing, or do we need to leave that?
Well, yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, I was my boss for Res Dogs is one of the actors for the show Yellowstone.
Awesome.
And so he was my boss for the craft services here in Tulsa and here in Oklahoma for production. And he invited me to come to Montana to work with him for Yellowstone. So.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Have you been to that part of the country?
I have never been to that part of the country.
I'm going to guess you're going to love it.
Oh yeah.
It's just beautiful country.
They're be prepared because I think it's like where we're going to be shooting is like gets down to like -50 and -70, something like that. So
where are you? Where do they shoot that?
Darby, I think.
Darby. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I know there was one location that was in Darby.
Okay.
So, but like I said, I've like with Res Dogs is my first time doing it. So the amount of times they change locations is like insane. So I can't even.
And then
imagine.
do you have to change with them? I guess so, right? They don't come back to eat. They just have to eat where they are.
You have to be on like we're like outside of like if it's in a building they're shooting at, craft services will be like right outside that building, so we'll be able to see the actors, do their thing. Yeah.
So what do you travel with in order to cook for that many people if you're changing locations? Is it like a trailer that's decked out specifically for what you're doing?
So whenever we started Res Dogs this last season, there's like a little convoy. It's like a box truck, and then a U-Haul truck, and then there's the food truck, which is actually an old Mac Tools truck that they converted into a little kitchen. So there are 2 ovens on the truck, and then
For how many people?
There was like 100 people.
That's not enough ovens.
So I mean, after Gator, like Gator would like cook stuff like insane amounts of food for like 100 people, every day. And I mean, when I first started, it was so cold. Like I was just complaining about it being cold. And they're like, well, wait till you get to Montana,
Yeah.
They're like, Oklahoma cold's not as cold as Montana. Yeah. But we cooked a lot on like flat tops outside. We just always had to like get propane tanks for every day.
Gotcha.
And then we also cooked in like cauldrons and stuff on open flame.
So I have so many questions I want to dig into, but I want to kind of, for myself and for the listeners and viewers, let's go back a little bit. So when does your culinary journey, if you want to call it that, how did it start? When did it start? Why did it start?
So I come from a pretty big family. My family's from Northeast Oklahoma, mainly like on the border of Arkansas. So I did grow up, back and forth between like going to Arkansas and then going to my grandma's house. Like, I mean, we had a lot of cousins. So long story short, like I started cooking because I would watch my grandparent or my grandma cook or my aunts.
Cool. Yeah.
And so like my project that I have on my own is called Elisi, which is the Cherokee word for grandmother. So like I
didn't know that's what that meant.
Yeah,
that's
what it means. Yeah.
That's cool.
So I mean, I like the fine dining aspect, but my favorite way of cooking is family style. And I just think it's more personal. And like people can be very personal with fine dining, they put their passion into it and everything like that. But I feel like it's, obviously more family oriented with that. So I started cooking, I would say I was 14 when I started. And I've been doing that. And then professionally,
in quotations.
Yeah,
right?
quotations. I think I started, I'd say about 12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And my first job was at a little cafe where I washed dishes, kind of like the same.
You have that story though. You like it, you come up,
so
pull up your bootstraps and work. And,
on Friday nights they'd have a catfish special.
I do like some good catfish.
So so that's where I started at. And then, I mean, my cooking, like it's taken me like everywhere. Like, I mean, it's been amazing. Like I was able to travel, like, just all the time. Like I'm going to Montana, and then I'm going to Minneapolis in November to work with the sous chef, Sean Sherman, in Minneapolis. And,
which restaurant?
Awamni.
So I have family up in the Minneapolis area. I'll have to tell them to go check it out.
So it's like it's going to be in collaboration with him, and then I can't remember exactly what it's because I'm very terrible about answering my emails. So
you're a little busy. So
I'm a little busy. Yeah. And so I'm going to be doing that, and then I'll be going to Denver also while I'll be in Montana, which is great because all these like organizations are able to like fly me out everywhere, and it's nice. I mean, I don't mind traveling, but like it's great to see that all this is coming from cooking. Yeah,
that's really
especially
really cool.
when I don't have to pay for it. So.
Exactly. Yeah. What are they going to have you do in Denver?
There's going to be myself, and then 2 other chefs I know. My friend Ben Jacobs and my friend Matt Chandra. They own a restaurant in Denver called Takabe. It's an Osage restaurant. Yeah, so they're really 2 of my really closest friends.
Oh, awesome.
So it's with those 2, and then my friend Andrea Murdoch. She's a South American indigenous chef.
Okay.
And she's organizing it. And like I said, I haven't really read my emails.
Sure.
So she texted me. She's like, "What do you think about coming to Denver?" And I was like, "Let's go."
Do it. Yeah.
So.
Okay, so from the catfish restaurant, washing dishes on Friday nights, to how did you get to, you said Elisi? Is that how you say it?
Elisi.
Elisi.
Yeah.
So what were there stops in between there? Did you stay in kitchens? Did you try to do something else and then come back? How did you?
So I first moved to Tulsa. It's been about 11 years now. I moved here from Siloam Springs, Arkansas.
Gotcha.
I did undergrad there at John Brown University.
JBU.
JBU. And I was there, and I cooked at the steakhouse at the Cherokee Casino for a little bit, and it's really different because like I said, like I only did family style cooking, and then when you work at a place like, you know, the caliber of like how huge that restaurant is, and the people that worked there just saw it as a job. It was definitely like there was no passion in like their cooking and stuff like that. So I was like, that's not how the
Almost seems soulless.
yeah,
or something,
it's like
right?
you just like you show up, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like that's not how. That's a job. That's not something you enjoy doing.
It's not how you remember cooking.
No, not
Right,
at all.
yeah.
So then I stopped doing that, and then I had a friend that I went to school with at JBU who's from Tulsa, and then she and I were talking a lot about it, and then I was like, hey, I kind of want to move to Tulsa, so I moved here, and then oh my God, my first job was at Banana Republic at
Was it?
Utica Square.
All right.
Oh God, if there's anything I could
Retail,
change,
man. I
yeah,
tell you.
if there's one thing I could change about history.
It'd be that job.
It'd be that. Nothing else. That's how selfish I am. Just go. But like, no, that was awful. But
I worked at Old Navy in high school.
oh man,
Maybe even junior. I don't think it was high school.
yeah,
I don't even know when it was. I was a kid.
yeah,
Awful.
yeah, it's terrible. Retail, I'll never do it again, of
No.
course. But yeah, I remember I was like, there's got to be something else, you know. And then like, my first restaurant job in Tulsa was at Qdoba on Cherry Street.
Was it really?
Yeah, and that was fun. I mean, I was like, I think it was 24, 25. And that kind of got old really quick, you know. Made some great friends who I'm still friends with to this day.
Yeah.
But then a friend of mine was opening Chimera. And so I went there and applied. Had a good time, you know, for the most part while I was there. But I was there from day one and like I helped.
Is that where we met?
I think it might
I
have
think
been.
it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Chimera. I was trying
Yeah.
to think about that earlier today. I think it was Chimera.
I think so also,
Yeah.
yeah. But so I helped open Chimera, and I left there, and then ever since then I like let me backtrack a little bit. Before I left Chimera, that's when I met Sterling Harjo. Like we knew each other kind of just vicariously through other people. And then I was on OCO TV the first season about foraging because that's what
Gotcha.
I like grew up doing. And then like I met Jeremy Charles, and then that's where
Yeah.
I went from there. And then after that, I kind of it just snowball effect, like
That's
where I
awesome.
would just
Yeah.
like I've opened, you know, a few restaurants in Tulsa. Like I helped open Oren. Let's see, Oren, Trenchers. My friend Zach owns Trenchers. And
So Zach and Melinda, myself, and TC Leroy are on a Monday night volleyball
oh yeah,
team.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh,
It's
TC.
fun.
I love TC.
Yeah.
I love Zach and Melinda. But yeah, then the last restaurant I helped open was Lowwood,
Right.
when I have my
Yeah.
Lowwood tattoo.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
branded.
Or do
But-
you still forage?
When I have time, yeah. It's like I was going from like biking every day because like, you know, I had a 9-to-5 job, you know, restaurant or whatever. But then it went from 3 months of just straight working on, you know, Res Dogs, and then when I wasn't working, I was asleep. I didn't see a lot of my
Yeah.
friends because I was just like, you know what I look
just
like. I know what you look
dead
like.
at
Yeah,
that
it's like,
point, yeah.
yeah. So, but
That's interesting.
with it getting so like things now are just like it's just so brutally hot, like nothing can really grow.
Yeah.
Like, which, you know, that's another podcast.
Right. That's
But
it.
like
we could get into climate change and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so when I can, I'll go foraging. I like to while we were actually on set for Res Dogs, we needed like a lot of like wild onions
Oh, cool.
for like scenes and everything. This last episode of Res Dogs, all the food is stuff that I made on set,
That's
which
so
is
cool.
great.
Yeah.
But like all the wild onions were growing in people's yards on set, like and like they were just huge. Like they look like scallions almost.
Yeah.
And like normally wild onions that grow around here are like really kind of puny or
Yeah.
whatever. But
They don't look appetizing.
yeah.
Right.
And then they're like, "Oh, we need wild onions," and I'd like I'll be right back, you know, and I'll run down the street like looking in the
I
yard, and
love
I'm like,
that.
here's some, whatever, and then wash them and then chop them up, and they'd be on set within like 10 minutes, So
Foraging scares me a little bit.
It can be very scary.
And only I come from a viewpoint of like a lack of knowledge. Oh, hey, cheers, by the way. Thanks for coming in. We are sipping on a Nulu toasted barrel, small batch toasted barrel. Ooh. I was telling you, I drove down. I spent 7 hours in the car last Saturday because I didn't want to pay for someone to come dog sit. Sure. I didn't want to bring my dogs because I was just going for my nephew's 7th birthday party. Yeah. And so got up, drove down, had time to stop by Buc-ee's and to stop by Specs.
Buc-ee's is my favorite place
Buc-ee's
in the world.
The shit.
Yeah.
I fucking love Buc-ee's.
Bury me at Buc-ee's.
Dude, please. Seriously, right? But I picked this up at Specs. It says on the side, there's like a sticker. I don't know if we can see it on the shot we got earlier, but it's a Texas exclusive from Nulu. But Nulu's out of Kentucky. I mean, it's a Kentucky bourbon out of Lawrenceburg. Let's see. Wait. It's distilled in Indiana. Okay. So it's MGP.
Man.
Yeah. Distilled by MGP.
That's so smoky.
Mm-hmm. So I don't have many. The reason I picked this up, I mean, they had in their shelf of like Spec store picks, they had a bunch of different stuff. They had a regular bourbon that was their pick, barrel pick. Oh, they had this, but I didn't have many toasted barrels in my collection.
When you had said something about that, I was like, "Ooh, toasted barrel sounds really good."
Yeah,
that
is really, really good. I'll ask your chef pairing on this here in a minute. Okay. But back to the foraging thing, just to end that thought. I come from a place of lack of knowledge. Sure. And so with my luck, do you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
That scene where Michael Scott's about to eat the mushrooms and Dwight comes running like, no, because they're poison. That would be me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I would forage the wrong thing. I could never be on the show alone.
No.
I would die.
Yeah.
Like it would just be
dead. Just dead.
Absolutely. I'd tap out right away because I knew I would die. So I don't know. Was it like a family thing? Did you always forage together? Or was it? Okay.
So my family are Cherokee and we like I grew up, like I said, watching my grandma cook and everything. And then when my mom was a little girl, they had like a smokehouse and all this stuff, which since then, like it's, fallen apart, whatever. But I mean, I remember going with even my dad, we'd go hunting for morels. And then like my dad would we'd find like big, like paint, like 5-gallon buckets, like 4 or 5 of those in one time, And then
and that's in like Arkansas / Oklahoma, like right there.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's just like as a kid, I was just like, oh yeah, wild mushrooms. And then as get in the culinary, it's like I don't even know how much morels go for these days. I think like over $60
these days. Who knows?
$60 a pound. Something I don't know. But we did that, and then like my dad would show me how to find hen of the woods.
That's my favorite mushroom.
Yeah, hen of the woods is amazing. Like it's one of my favorite mushrooms. And then like you're talking about like not being able to identify stuff. I mean, there are the false mushrooms. I mean, there's the puffball mushroom, which I love. It's just like they grow in the Veterans Park,
No kidding.
Yeah, but they can get up to, I don't know, about this big of a puffball. But they have a false friend, I guess you call it, but like it's called Angel of Death.
Fuck.
And so like it's just like if you don't,
that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's like if you're not able to identify it correctly, like it could kill you in like 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Like if you eat it, yeah. So I'm just like, one, I sucks for that person that found out in 10 minutes. But like 2, like thanks for that, man.
Yeah.
It's like
better you than me, but
yeah. So there's that, and then
did you study? Were there books, or was it just like
my grandparents,
family knowledge?
My family, And I
mean, there are books though,
for sure,
like,
absolutely. And that's the thing. Also, it's just like with different regions, it's different stuff. But like I know what's common in our area. I'll say that, And then I definitely do study. Like I study foraging books and like the different like how we have wild onions. There's ramps that grow like in the Northeast and like the Northwest and all that. But like our varieties. I mean, I do a lot of like, I hate the term urban foraging. It's so cheesy.
It sounds like such a 2022 term.
God, yeah.
Urban foraging.
And it's like those like photos of the chefs that cross their arms, They're just like, I'm an urban. It's just like, all right, we get it.
Trying to look tough.
Yeah, it's like, we get that. But I mean, with my knowledge of like what I've learned from my parents and my grandparents, even like, when I would go on bike rides and stuff, there's different varieties of wild carrots that grow on the river.
No shit.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm just, maybe that's the whole thing. If you don't know what to look for, you just don't see it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've been on the river and I just never noticed there's carrots.
Yeah. I
hanging
mean,
out,
and of course they look like just like, I mean, the carrot is a root, but like, it's just like, it looks like smaller than like an heirloom carrot or something like
Sure,
that. But
sure.
those are like natural carrots. And then they're not the big golden ones that we are used to today. And then, there was a summer where I was like Johnny Appleseed, where I would sprout a bunch of I would take like
I
squash.
just got this mental image of Johnny Appleseed
just walking around
with his little man purse.
Yeah,
thing.
just like a little like
satchel.
Yeah. So I mean, I would bike and I would have like my fanny pack, my old trusty fanny pack, and I would have like little I had like these little wet like paper towels full of seedlings, and I would just throw them out.
No kidding.
During like on the bike trails and stuff like that. And so a lot of things that I did in the past for dinners here, I would go and pick those stuff because I knew where it was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so like there's the Osage Trail, it's the bike trail that goes all the way to Skytook. Like I don't even remember where it is, but like people were finding like watermelons and stuff like that I threw out. So I was just like, hell yeah.
How random would that be?
Take
to just be
that,
biking and you
Jonathan Appleseed.
Right. You don't expect it, and you look and there's a watermelon.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
So, but it was just funny because this is me like telling people now, but like I would hear like some of my biking friends be like, there were like watermelons growing on the bike trail,
like, yeah,
and
they
like
were.
in the back, I'm like rubbing my hands together. I'm like, yeah, they were.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
So, but yeah, well, I mean, even like whenever I'm in a different city and if I have any downtime, if I'm not working, I will go to the mountains.
That's cool.
And well, I say any other city. I work in Denver.
Well, I was going to say you'll love Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would go to Denver numerous times out of the year, which I love.
Outside of the difference in size of city, nowadays with how many people move there, and I was one of them, I don't know the actual population of Denver proper.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
A lot more than Tulsa. Probably like 2 or 3 times as big as Tulsa, I would
like
assume.
3 times, yeah.
What is the biggest difference between their culinary scene and ours? Is it literally just because there's 2 to 3 times more people, there's going to be more restaurant options and all of that just by nature of population size? Or do you think there's something else in play?
For sure. Okay, so I feel like, I mean, a lot of the first time I went to Denver, I thought of it as like with the food scene, it was like I thought of it as like if a food court in a mall was the food scene of a city.
Yeah.
And that's before I started making friends with the chefs.
How long ago was this when
I first went to Denver? Oh man, I think I was still in college. I think I was like
So me too. And to go back now,
yeah. It's
unrecognizable.
Yeah, night and day.
Yeah. In multiple ways, like construction, buildings,
yeah.
food scene, all of it. Like it's unreal.
I feel like, I mean, that's the advantage of like having all those like different people groups in one city with there's the native population there, and then you have there's like all those like great Korean restaurants there,
Korean
which is
restaurants.
insane. Like that's more in I think Aurora.
It is,
Yeah.
just outside of Denver.
Yeah, so I love that area. And then I remember I went one time with a friend, and she was like, "Let's go to Shake Shack," and I was like, "Man, okay, that's fine.
It's
whatever.
delicious,
It's
though.
good." But I was like, "There's so many cool restaurants."
Yeah.
But I mean,
I would have. So I lived just probably a mile and a half. What would have been east of downtown. And so I was like right by the zoo, right by City Park.
Okay.
And so I would either ride my bike if it was a nice day or whatever, but I worked remote. I worked for a company here while I lived there because when I left TV here, I just didn't sign my contract, picked a place to live, and moved with no friends, no anything.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I just got to have a change of scenery. But my days, probably 3/5 of the work week, I would get up, Ratio Brewery in Rhino, opened at noon.
Yeah, River North.
And so I would get up, I would go to the bagel shop on my way, sit, have coffee and breakfast, bike over to Ratio, grab a beer, order Shake Shack to go, pick it up, come back and sit down. And that was my office for like the afternoon at the bar at the brewery, eating Shake Shack.
It's like a solid.
It was great.
Yeah, it sounds
was
like
great.
a pretty solid
So
lunch
Shake Shack has a special place in my heart.
For sure.
Even though you're right. Like there's much better local or whatever you want to call it.
I mean,
like
I can't
restaurants.
even say anything because like I still, fuck up some McDonald's.
I had some on the way back from Dallas.
Yeah,
I was like, I was hungry, but I wasn't starving. But it was like, yeah, it's like 8 o'clock at night. Like, I'll just get a quarter pounder, and it was delicious.
I had an interview one time with this this woman that ran a food blog, and she was like, well, as a chef, you must always cook for yourself at home. And I was like, yeah, of course. But in my mind, I was just thinking about the night before how I had like 2 scoops of peanut butter for dinner.
You're crazy? Like,
yeah, I was like,
last thing I want to do is cook.
I just trout Almadine all the time,
Right.
But like, I literally went to bed eating 2 scoops of peanut butter.
I did that for dessert last night. I was like,
so.
Let's see, where do I want to go next? Let's stay in the family realm. So, what you've talked about as far as like learning to cook from your grandma and then foraging with your family and your dad, how much of that carried over to Elisi?
So, the majority of it is like, it's all from my family. Like, still like.
So it's family recipes, family, like
yeah,
all that.
Absolutely. I just recently did a like the camp. I don't know if it's a campaign dinner or whatever for Bobby Dean, who's running
cool.
for city council.
Yeah.
It was
Mr. Orcutt?
It was at the VFW, and I asked him what he wanted for the menu, and all he wanted was cornbread, beans, and fried potatoes. And I was like, I can do that.
I can do.
No problem.
I love all of that.
Yeah, that's like my favorite food in the world. And so yeah, I did that. I made enough for 100 people, and then any of the leftovers we had, we donated it to the VFW. Oh, that's awesome. And so they had it for lunch the next day.
That's very cool.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But like, there were some people there that I was like, I was telling my friend Sarah who helped me, I was like, if I fuck up beans, I'm calling it quits.
Right,
right. I'm not gonna do anything.
Well, but like, what do you put in your beans? Because it's not just beans.
Sure.
Right? So
I am very traditional with it. I take smoked ham hocks.
Yeah.
And then what I do before I cook them down, I'll like kind of just shave them off, like the skin, and then I'll render that down for a while.
Oh, should I do that?
That's the
because I have some ham hocks in my freezer that I saved from last year.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And then
interesting. Okay.
Like
what are you cutting off? Like the actual ham, like the meat?
Yeah, the actual
on there?
like the meat, and then I'll do that and let that render down to where it turns into like cracklings almost. And then I add onions and then garlic.
Okay.
And then I'll add the beans to that, and then I put in a little bit of vegetable broth, and then like homemade vegetable broth, and then I fill it with water.
That's awesome.
But then I add the bones to it itself, but I like
that's where you get the best flavor.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll let them go, and then I do it like low and slow for like. I always soak the beans beforehand. I soaked them in my fridge at home, and I had a 22-quart Cambro sitting in my my fridge.
Take out the shelves.
Yeah, they were all like on the side and stuff. Yeah. But it's just really funny because like I was like I bought like 12 pounds of beans, and
that's
then
a lot of beans.
Yeah, and then of course they doubled. So the next day I opened my fridge and they were just all over the fucking. They're just in the side drawers and everything, and I was like, "Whoops,
my bad."
So, yeah, but that was fun. And then,
do you have before we move on? Do you have a bean of preference?
I like pinto.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, any bean's a good bean. So
fair. I just didn't know if there was one maybe I wasn't thinking of.
Like Great Northern.
That's
beans.
what I was gonna say. I like Great Northern.
Or pinto.
If I'm gonna put beans in chili, and it's not a chili bean, I'll grab a Great Northern bean.
One of my favorite things to do also is to get those 15 bean mixes.
Ooh, I haven't done that.
Yeah, like you can get them at Reese's or whatever, but it has like all different types. Like there's like lentils in there. There's
that's cool.
All anyway.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I did that, and then my cornbread recipe is like it's a play on my grandma's recipe.
Yeah.
So for the sweetness, I'll like make the batter. And then I did cream cheese. I put cream cheese in the actual batter.
Probably makes it fluffier too.
Yeah, I did that. And then anytime before I bake it, I always pour honey on top. So that's the sweet aspect of it.
Interesting.
And then I'll like swirl the honey into the batter, so you'll get a bite of honey in each time.
That sounds delicious.
So thank you.
With the savoriness of the beans.
And then
that
fried potatoes.
And then who doesn't like fried?
Yeah.
I'm fucking hungry now. All right, what'd you bring? Let's eat something. What'd you make? What'd you bring?
This is just a fritter. I always love making fritters, anytime like it's a quick snack. But this is actual bean talk. Should change it to
this
bean
episode
talk.
Is Bean Talk. Brought to you by Pinto Beans.
Pinto Beans. So this is it's just rice cooked with I I did garlic and then some scallions, and then I put it in a food processor with some beans that I had that I cooked yesterday, and then the bind agency is blue corn meal that Takabe actually sent me.
Oh, very cool.
And like all their heirloom, everything is grown by different tribes throughout Colorado and New Mexico.
That's really cool.
So the blue corn came from Navajo country. So that I use that as a binder, and then just some tomatoes and some jalapenos and stuff
Let's
like that.
dig in.
Yeah, do yourself. So
I'm just gonna grab one.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I didn't know what kind of sauce to make, so they're still like really good by
That's okay.
themselves. So
Doesn't need a sauce.
yeah,
Yeah, that's delicious.
thank you.
Something like that could go with. I mean, I see why you had a hard time picking a sauce,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
it's like a savory cookie.
it really is.
Mm-hmm.
That's delicious.
Thank you.
I do love fritters, though.
Yeah.
They're delicious. So, how would you describe what Elisi is? Like, you don't have a brick and mortar.
No.
So, like, what is it? Just when you cook and you're here, you do it under that title, or do you have pop-ups,
absolutely.
or do you like? How do you describe it?
Whenever I got out of, I helped open Lowwood. That was the last restaurant that I worked in, and Lowwood and Hodges Bend. I've been doing this for like over 20 years, and I like see like new chefs and like, friends that are like so excited about opening restaurants. I'm like, good luck. You guys are so
just wait,
so innocent.
Yeah.
The just like the love in their eyes.
You'll learn.
I'm like,
yeah.
But that's the thing. It's just like, I'm happy that they can do that. And I'm definitely not like jaded in any sense of it, but like, I don't have to do that anymore. So like, you know, and when I am here, I've done numerous pop-ups over at American Solera.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite place. Like one of my favorite places to like cook at.
Great beer, great kitchen, great atmosphere.
I've done that, and then over at Heirloom, and which is always just a fun like to cook outside. But I've done like, and it's not even just like native or like Southern cooking. Whenever I was in college, one of my best friends, who was like a huge inspiration to me for cooking, she's since passed on, but like she was from Nairobi, and she was from the Taita tribe from Kenya, and I didn't know anything about African cooking at all, And then she and I became like best friends, and so I would go to her house, and she would make dinner, and I'd be like, "Hey, can I watch you do this?" And she's like, "It's kind of weird, but yeah, whatever." So then I would like write down how she would do stuff, and like there was one dinner I did at American Solera that was all of her recipes.
I missed
and
that
so
one.
I'm gonna try to do it again.
Please do.
But so she still is to this day a huge inspiration of like what I cook, how I cook, because it's kind of like whenever she would tell me when she would go back to Kenya, because she was the cook of the family, and so she had her brothers and sisters and then her mom. So whenever she would go home, she said that before she would leave, like a week before she would leave, she would do nothing but cook for like 3 to 4 days, because they would take all that food and freeze it.
No
So
kidding.
like before she left, she was like, God, she's like, it's always such a fucking ordeal.
Sure, yeah.
And
You're tired of cooking at that point.
And then she's like, I do it though because I won't see them again for a few years, So but yeah, so like it's funny because like anytime I go visit my family, that they live like an hour from here. My mom will never directly ask me to make,
but she
something.
sure hopes you do.
She's just like, oh, just a heads up, we have a lot of like this and this, and I'm like, did you want me to make? She's like, I'm not asking you,
if you did,
if you're offering, I'm like, all right, I see you.
I'll cook for you, Mom.
See what you're saying, Doris. But so yeah, it's like that style of cooking is like close to me because like it was close to my friend's family.
Sure.
That, and then let's see. I mean, there's always so popular Indian tacos at like Solera.
Back to the fry bread conversation. Yeah.
But that's the thing, and it's just, I know like it'll sell really well, but I'm just like, man, like at what cost
to my soul,
to my psyche,
right. Yeah,
to my well-being. But it's like I was saying, like I can cook with the best of them, But like when it comes down to, and I don't even want to say it that way because I don't want to sound like I'm demeaning family style cooking. You know, like making it less than.
I love
Something.
family style
See,
cooking.
that's what I'm saying. It's just like Elisi and like whenever I cook, I feel like both of my grandmas are with me when I'm cooking.
That's really cool.
Because it's all the techniques I learned from them.
Do you have a goal of having another brick and mortar, like starting your own though, not opening one for someone else, like doing that at some point when you're done with the craft services?
I mean, it's definitely been something that I've thought about in the past, but I'm like having so much fun on craft services.
Sure. I mean, it's down the line, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, my family has gifted me a large sum of land that my
really?
grandma left me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
in that northeastern part of it,
it's near Grand Lake.
Oh, that's awesome.
So what my idea would be is to like settle on that land.
Yeah.
You know, like a little A-frame house or something like that, and then have like a dinner club out there, so like a destination.
I'm in.
Yeah, like a destination.
Like
spot.
Living Kitchen, but a little further.
Yeah. But
which I love what Lisa and that crew is doing.
Amazing.
I mean, did you see what they're opening up on Monday? So today or yesterday. So we're taping this on a Friday. It'll release next week. So by the time you see this, it's probably sold out. So sorry. But so they released the schedule yesterday for their next 2 or 3 months, and they're doing. She just wanted to change it up. So like the courses are gone and all that different stuff, and she's literally using open flame and cooking. Yeah, and she's like some of it's family style, some of it's plated, but like still bring your own wine. And, I'm going. Yeah, just like come eat. We should grab a group and just like go.
I would be down for that.
Just
That's
go
amazing.
Eat. They're just I love the people, and you're one of them, but the people, I feel like Tulsa has a good number of people that just have that creative streak in them.
Sure.
When it comes to like, I'm not just going to make you some steak and potatoes and a veggie, you know, which, hey, has its place.
Yeah, for sure.
Not shitting on it. But I mean, when Trey Winkle was on the podcast, he was the last guest.
I read that. I listened to that.
And he was talking about African cuisine. And when I asked him like the one place he wanted to see us both like as a country and locally or whatever go, he was like, man, like I love African cuisine and it's just nowhere. It's not a thing yet. And he would love to see restaurants like that open. I love that creativeness. I love what you're talking about, how, like Kenyan basically influenced a lot of how you cook.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm the same way. Like one of my favorite places to go to eat in town, I don't know how to pronounce.
Okay.
I have no clue how to pronounce it.
Which one is it?
It's the El Higuelacin.
Oh, yeah.
Is that say it right? Ish?
Ballpark.
Ballpark, got to be, right? But, I mean, their barbacoa and stuff is fantastic. Yeah. And I love walking in, and the little door chime rings, and everyone looks, and I'm the only white person in there.
Like, who's this guy?
I love it, though. It's like, hey, guys.
No, that's great. And a lot of people like that. I mean, like, I've had friends that would come to my family's land, and, like, we'd be eating, like, traditional, like, Cherokee-style food and everything, and my aunts would be like, do you think they'll like this?
What would you say is Cherokee-style food?
So it's definitely a lot of, like, going back to OCO, I had a family member, I would guess my great uncle or something like that. Like, he used to be in charge of all the hog fries. So it's like, it's literally like you would take a hog and then you would like break it down and then you would cook everything in cauldrons. So like you would use the pork fat to render down, and then you'd cook the pieces of pork in that, and then just like chunks of pork that was salted. That's literally all it was.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, definitely not healthy, but
probably not.
The best foods aren't, And but everything was cooked over in a cauldron over like flame, like just in our. We have a really cool piece of land that has been in my family since my family's been my family, but that's where everyone in my family gathers, and there's a lot of us. I mean, I think there's one time at our family reunion there was like 200.
Good people. Lord,
yeah, like with cousins
a lot
and
of people.
Stuff. Yeah. But it's a lot of like Appalachian style cooking, because that's where my family's from. We have documents that are which is crazy. All my family's from Georgia and Tennessee. But that's the homeland of the Cherokees or the Carolinas.
Right, right.
So that style, like if you see style of like that sort of style of cooking in the Appalachian area, it transfers over to like Oklahoma, how like we cook like the southern style, but it's from that area, and it's a lot of like we have a traditional dish called kanachi, which is one of my favorite. It's a soup, but it's hickory nuts that you have to season. And so what you do is you pulverize the hickory nuts in like a mortar and pestle, like a huge one, like a hollowed out log, you know, and then you boil that with, I think traditionally they did with milk, but then they boil it with that, and then they would put either grits or rice in it, and then they would season it with brown sugar or maple syrup.
That sounds interesting.
And it was just like a porridge, but like it's a traditional dish. And then you, of course, I mean, a lot of the dishes I feel like in our tribe is, in my family at least, is it's a lot of like deer and
sure.
Which I grew up not liking deer meat.
Oh, that's tough.
Because I'll tell you this, because like as a kid when I was growing up, I would see them, you know, like they would cut the deer meat and it'd still be warm from like them butchering. Oh. And then they would just dredge it in flour and throw that shit in the hot oil, and it'd be so leathery. Yeah. So I never liked it. And then so as I started cooking, I got like a cut of it, you know, and then
you can age that shit a little bit.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah. But then I like braised it.
Oh yeah.
And then I sent it to gave it to my family, and one of my aunts was like, "Are you sure this is deer meat?" You know, just
I thought you were gonna say you saw Bambi as a kid or something.
No.
And then you're like, "Oh, I can't eat that little thing." Like,
no, I think there was one time my dad took us on a hunting trip, and I'm sure I acted up somehow, and then he's like, "You can't come with me ever again." So like, well, whatever. But I mean, there's a lot of like that, and like a lot of fish, and then I mean, there's this like going back to like my great grandma. She passed away before like I was able to like, you know who she really was, but she used to go fishing with you know the buckeye tree, you know, like what a buckeye tree is?
Oh yeah.
So if you I don't know the specific way to do it, but like she would go fishing with that, where she would take like a sapling, put it in like cheesecloth, and then like hit it with a hammer or something, just to where it started like to turn into like pulp. You throw that in water, there's an enzyme in that where it makes the fish dizzy, and so the fish just float up, and then you go out there and pick it.
Wait, what?
You pick it, and then like it wears off.
That's like some life hack shit.
Yeah, it's like it wears off like after a little bit, and then the fish starts swimming again. But that's how they used to go fishing and stuff, and that's where her family brought it from, the Carolinas. And
I had no clue.
Yeah, and then like
I knew buckeyes were poisonous.
Yeah, but there's like that, and then like when we were, my family told me this is what they did, but like when like babies were teething, they would get like a crawfish, and then they'd pull that little yellow membrane out, and they'd rub it on the gums, and that had natural numbing, and like that's what they would like, and like the kids would fall asleep and stuff like that. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, just stuff like that I like learned from my grandparents, you know. And then it's just like that style of cooking. Do you know Mickey Payne?
I know the name.
So he has like that new area behind Freeway, like that.
Oh yeah.
Those are his buildings.
Right.
But he owned a piece of land out in Sky.
I'm gonna pour a little more. Do you want a little more?
Sure.
Sorry, you can keep going though. I interrupted you.
Cut it off. Thank you. So he had a plot of land out on Lake Skytook, and my friend Jessica Brent had a business out there called Homa Camping Company, and it was
something's knocking. Let me pause. Hold on. All right, so you guys don't know this. I showed you. They're building a lighting grid over there, so I had to go tell them, hey, come on now. Don't do that right now. Okay, so backtrack a little bit, but yeah, you can continue on. Yeah.
So my friend Jessica Brent started this camping company called Homa Camping Company. So it was like kind of like, I hate the term glamping, but you know, like it's what it is. What it is. Like she and I would both kind of laugh about that. But what it was like you could buy packages of like, they had like these really cool buildings out there that overlooked. You could see the lake. But then people that could go out there for like retreats or whatever, they could have a personal chef, and that was me. And like
that's cool.
They could like for a dinner, and I think the most I did was like I cooked for like 20 people at once out there. And I would bring I have like these fire tables, and you would just like these cast iron tables that you put over the flame, and that's how I'd cook.
That's cool.
A lot of the cast irons that I still use to this day are stuff that belonged to my grandparents.
Talk about seasoned.
Yeah, very seasoned. Yeah. I had a roommate one time soak a cast iron. I came home and it was orange, and I cried a little bit.
I can't do that.
Then got over it, but then I reseasoned it.
Can't do that.
But I was able to, like, whenever I was cooking for those people, there was sage growing on the hillside, and I was like, "Oh, I should use some of that sage for these potatoes," you know. So like that style of cooking is like reminiscent of like how I grew up, like seeing all my family cooking out there. And then my friend Nico, Chef Nico,
talking about mispronouncing names earlier when I was like, is your name pronounced any other weird way that I don't know? So I knew her for years, only called her Nico. No clue that Albert was her last name. It's Albert.
Yeah.
Right? Written out. So I'm seeing a blank canvas event, and in front of like a room of, I don't even know how many hundreds of people, I call her Nico Albert. Didn't have any clue how to say, had never heard it, everyone called her Chef Nico, Nico. She didn't even correct me. It was like a month or two later.
You're like, God.
I heard her say her name, and I was like, wait a minute.
Backtrack.
Say that again? She was like, oh, yeah, you totally fucked it up. And I was like, what? Say something. Like, Anyway, yes, Chef Nico.
So Chef Nico and I one time did a TV show for the BBC, and she was like, she told me that they contacted her. It was like, we're doing a thing. It's called the Harry Bikers. So what they did is they did a road trip on Route 66. So they started in Chicago, then went all the way, you know, but like they stopped in Oklahoma. And Nico and I were able to go to my family's land that I was talking about. So we had all these people, like, is all from like Ireland and like
cool.
Scotland. There were some people from Scotland and all, like England. But I remember like we went to my family's land, and then Nico had someone get a wild boar for us. So we cooked a wild boar.
I think I saw that on our Instagram story.
On one of those one of those fire tables I was talking about. It was just funny because like one of my aunts made a joke. She's like, we haven't seen this many like English people in our land since it was taken from.
Oh,
and I was like, I'm sorry. I know, like they wanted to see it, you know.
Yeah.
But it was just funny, and like she was like, they were very like excited to have the people on our because they're like, how would this have happened? There was no way this would ever happen. Like a bunch of people,
Irish people.
It was just kind of funny, and then we were able to cook the boar, and then I like got a bunch of like wild garlic that was growing, and then I made a cornbread by using one of those cast irons, and then just putting those hot coals on top of the cast iron. That's how awesome. I cooked it like that, like in the little ashes and stuff. So it was cool to see that. Like I try to tie it in with everything I cook. So
what I love about and I'm listening as you're telling these stories, and there's like this natural progression in your cooking career, if you want to call it a career, your cooking life, that seems to have gotten you ready for cooking for big groups in craft services, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's the family style, learning from that, or whether it's, like you're talking about cooking over open flame, just in the open, the flexibility and the creativity.
Absolutely.
And knowing how to cook family style food probably translates really well to what you're doing now. Because what I was going to ask you was there a adjustment period for having to cook for that many people? But it sounds like to an extent, it's just kind of what you've always been doing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely progressing to a lot of people, having a big family. And then no matter where I worked at, like in a kitchen, I would always make family meal for everybody. That's just how, like still to this day, even if I'm at my apartment, I stand up and eat in the kitchen area.
Do you really?
Like my aunts did and like my grandma did. And it's like, if I sit down and try to eat, I'm like, what am I doing? It just
doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. So, but like a lot of like restaurants that I worked at, like
that's a true chef thing right there.
Yeah. Like I'm just, it's like
you're going to eat whenever you can eat, whenever you have time.
Subconsciously.
You're not going to sit down and eat, right?
Subconsciously doing that even at my own apartment. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But like, it's like, I'm doing what I've done for the past 20 years, but like, I'm a huge, like, I don't like to waste food. If, I'll run that shit to the ground until it's gone, just like, but I would do that. A lot of scraps and stuff that I would, at a restaurant, I would use every bit that could be used to eat. And I would feed the entire like kitchen crew. I'd feed the servers, feed everybody. Cool. Just like, that's another thing. It's just like, if you went to any of my grandparents' house, like they'd be like, are you hungry? And you say no. They're like, all right, well, I'll cook you a little something.
Yeah,
it's like, you're not hungry, but you will eat a little bit. So like, that's kind of like, I love doing that sort of thing.
I just had this like aha moment in my brain. I don't even know if she was my great grandma. So she was my mom's aunt's mom. So not my great grandma, but somehow related in some way, shape, or form. She was, I don't know if she was 100% Seminole. She was native for sure.
Sure.
And the thing I remembered the most, we called her Nanny. The thing I remember the most about her was her jalapeno cornbread.
Oh yeah.
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 And
My
it
grandma.
was this recipe that she had for generations. So who knows how old it was.
See, yeah, my grandma, she one of my favorite things to eat was the corn fritters she would make.
Ooh, yeah.
And it was just cornmeal, like flour, egg, and then white onion, and that's it.
That's amazing.
Even like at the dinner I did for Bobby Dean, like I served it the way I grew up eating, back to bean talk, just like a big green onion. You take a bite of it and then take a bite of the green onion. So I was looking at that, and like whenever we were doing that dinner, it was very reminiscent of Sunday church dinners because it was at a VFW, and like kind of like that setting of like the church, whatever. But I was just sitting there and I was just like, holy shit. It's like, this is just like I was cooking for like my family when, anyone that enjoys food like that. I mean, I feel like I am cooking for my family for sure. So, and I'm, it was just great to see that. And yeah, it's just kind of funny. The last time I was in Denver, I cooked with a bison.
Ooh.
And, I made, a bison stew with some wild rice that was, harvested by some, I can't remember it was from Minnesota, but I don't know which tribe was doing it. But yeah, I cooked for 300 people. I made a soup for 300 people, and mind you, it was just tastings,
right?
But like people kept coming back for it, and I will say I pride myself on all my soups because I had the soup club,
right?
And I love making soups, obviously, but like
it's about that time again.
It's getting that time again, and I've already had people
asking
me about it. And
I need a spot in the soup.
Yeah, no, I remember. I
missed it last time.
Definitely have you.
Yeah.
But I made this like bison stew with potatoes, carrots, the wild rice, and all I did was take the bison and like ground it up, and then just seared it, kind of made it a little crunchy or whatever, and then I seasoned it with just butter and smoked paprika, and it was voted best dish. No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal. But it was just funny. It's just like whenever I went to that event, we had some sous chefs.
Where was the event?
At the University of Denver.
At the University of Denver? Yeah.
It was for the Indian
great hockey team.
Yeah. It's like it was the like Native American scholarship something. There's a fundraiser. But it was so funny to me because I'm so used to like doing all this stuff by myself. But we had a team that were from a Navajo culinary school or trade school, and these Navajo these culinary students, they were like, "Chef, what can we help you with?" And I was just like, "Whoa, what?" So something that would have taken me at least 5 hours by myself took me an hour and a half.
That's awesome.
So we had this crew of like these like native like culinary students. They're just so excited about it. And I felt bad because I was like, wait, I should be doing that. But I'm so used to it. And then, so I like show up, make the stew in like an hour and a half. And then as we're done, I was like, so what do I do now?
I don't know what to do.
And they're like, well, you're free to go do whatever you want. And I was like, what? Okay, cool. So I went back to my hotel and slept.
Yeah.
But,
right.
But
that's the through line in all this.
Yeah.
You need sleep.
I was like, I could go to the mountains
if
I wanted to. And I was like, nah, just go watch Forensic Files.
Right.
But I keep saying and I'm expecting to hear but the next day we show up for the University of Denver, and I was like, whoa, I need to go back to the kitchen, the commissary, to go get all my stuff. And the director called me, or I called her, and she was like, oh, it's waiting on you. All you should do is show up and serve it. I was like, wait, did you bring a burner or something? She's like, oh, it's heated up. You literally just have to serve it. And I was like, I feel like such an asshole. It's like, all these kids are doing.
You feel like a Bobby Flay or
and I'm like, no, come on. And then so, I show up, and we serve the food. It's great, and all these chefs are so talented. They're like such a great honor to work with these like native chefs, that are from that area, and it was just so wild to me that I didn't have to do anything,
Yeah.
just show up. And then I think the one
If you're
thing,
not used to it, it's probably
no, not at all,
like an out of body experience
which
almost.
is great, and that's like kind of when the bear came out, people were asking me about that.
Oh, yeah,
they're like, have you
yeah.
watched it? Have you watched it? I was like, no, I can't. They're like, why not? It's a good show. I'm like,
It stressed me
I was
out.
like, it's called fucking trauma, baby.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I don't want to watch it.
I couldn't imagine. Like, it would
Yeah.
be PTSD
Yeah.
for if you were in a kitchen like that.
Yeah, and
Because
it's
I
so,
worked front of house in the service industry for a long time, but like,
it's so funny. It's fucking sandwiches.
right,
It's just like,
right,
what?
right, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a great experience to like be able to like cook for 300 people, and then having to like talk in front of them was kind of a different story. But it
That's a
was fun.
skill that is honed over time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And like I mean, I definitely enjoy it, but I just don't feel like I'm so like that articulate in order to like actually know what to make myself sound like I know what I'm talking
Sure,
about. So,
sure.
yeah.
If there was going to be a place where I would expect to find or hope to find like true Native American restaurants, it would be in the Oklahoma area.
Sadly, no, there's nothing really here.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why aren't there more Native restaurants or any
mean,
Native restaurants in the area?
There's a thing. I honestly don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't want to say it's like generational trauma or anything like that, but it could be a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I know that there's the Native place in Broken Arrow. I've never been there.
I haven't either.
And we tried to do a Takabe here in Tulsa.
And there might be small ones I don't know of. So
Sure.
I'm not trying to offend any
Yeah.
restaurant owner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as a whole, I just don't feel like they're on the peripheral or like that you see them.
Yeah, for sure. And then, see, after I was on the OCO TV, the Cherokee Nation approached me about doing a restaurant, but they wanted it to be in Tahlequah. So I was like, the people that were very excited about Native cuisine and everything, I don't think they'd be driving to Tahlequah to come eat.
That's a hike.
Yeah,
That's a hike.
but but I say that a lot. Wow.
It's amazing what you learn as you hear yourself talk, right?
I just like, I think that there's like the restaurant of the Cherokees. That's another quote unquote, but it's like it's chicken fried steak. It's stuff like it is a restaurant in the Cherokee Nation,
Right.
but it's not a traditional.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it because like what you were talking about, like a lot of Native food has kind of similar, like you can kind of recognize it in Southern cuisine,
Sure.
right? And there's Southern restaurants here, so is that maybe why like Natives see that and they're like, well, it would be kind of like this, and that's already here. That's already
I would say a lot of that has to do with like the term Indian taco. That's a Navajo style of bread, and so it's normally a Navajo taco. But like a lot of people have these assumptions that all Native food is that same,
right,
that same,
right.
like it's categorized in just one dish, but like that, it comes down also to the generational trauma of commodities, like the government giving, food to, like just not just Natives, but like, I mean, I grew up on commodities, and I used to always think, I was like, there's other cheese that's doesn't come in a block form, like
right.
I was like, whoa, like that's some fancy cheese. It's not in a cardboard box, but like that. And I didn't know plums were fruit. I mean, I knew they were fruit, but I thought plums were always in a syrup,
right.
Growing up like
right.
that. So I feel like a lot of like the traditional recipes that Natives have, they keep them solely in their family. Like they don't want to, like, commercialize it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I've been to like, I've been to different like Native style restaurants, and I mean, and this is not saying anything bad about any particular restaurant, but I mean, if you put microgreens or a flour, that doesn't change the flavor of anything,
Right.
It's just like the presentation's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. But it can be pretty and not taste good. It's just like, and that's why I was like, I'm not going to name anyone, but like, I just like want it to be something that I'm used to, but I think it comes back down to the fact that I wouldn't know how to like actually put that on paper as a recipe to like, I was approached to help with a recipe book. I was like, I don't fucking know how to write a recipe.
See, I love that.
I don't know
I use
how.
a recipe once,
Mhm.
and then I make it my own after
Sure.
that. And so I forget what the actual recipe was
Yeah.
at that point. you know?
Whenever I was making that cornbread the other day, I had my measuring cup was an old margarine bowl, and that's how I was measuring everything.
Right.
And they're like, "Can you write a recipe down?" I was like, "No." It's like one margarine bowl,
Right,
yeah.
right. One of
mar-
my specific bowls of this.
and that goes back to like my grandma's style of cooking, because there was always some sort of kind of like a 5-gallon bucket full of like, be it cornmeal, rice,
Yeah.
whatever. But there's always that one cup,
Right.
that's like, where's my measuring cup? And it'd be like an
Right.
old like parquet bowl, or
Yes,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So
It's interesting. What you said made me think, and I think I figured out the answer to that, to my question about like why aren't there more native restaurants? I think it's almost a fuck you.
yeah,
I think it's like no, this is my family's recipe. This is for us. Screw you guys. You can go eat your McDonald's. We're gonna eat
yeah,
what we eat over here, and that totally makes sense to me.
yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, that's even like I had one of my best friends in high school. His stepmom was from El Salvador, and anytime I'd go over there, she would be like, when I go visit with him, his family, she would be like, "Oh, we're gonna make hamburgers," and I was like, okay. She's like, "Would you eat that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." But she was so afraid that I wouldn't want to eat what they were eating.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's the one that introduced me to pupusas. And oh my God,
Delicious.
I sat at the
Yeah.
table for like 2 hours and ate. And like, she kept coming up to me. She's like, "Do you really like that?" And I was like, "This is so good."
I might have to order a pupusa.
Yeah,
tonight.
so-
That's so good. Yeah.
So like, it's just like, that's another thing. It's just like a different people group trying your traditional food.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, are they going to like it? And a lot of people that I know, like my aunts, my aunties now, like one of them is like an acclaimed pie. She makes pies from
cool.
scratch, and she sells them for $10, and she thinks that's expensive.
Can
for-
I have her
for
contact
pie?
info?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
But I was telling her, like, when I worked at Trencher's, the pies that I would make, they would sell for $40, and she's like, "That's 4 pies," just like, but she like, it's stuff like that. They have a kitchen at their house, but she has an outdoor kitchen, so she goes and cooks out there.
That's cool.
And like everyone eats outside.
Yeah.
But when I would have friends that I would bring to my family's land, there's specific rules you have to follow there.
Oh, really?
You can't have any alcohol there because it's traditional land, so there's no alcohol allowed. There's no any sort of like smoking or anything like that. So I had some friends from Tulsa come one time, and they brought like wine.
Whoops.
And I didn't know this. And so we're sitting outside, and they're getting dressed and everything. And then I like look over, and I'm like, "What are you guys pouring in that cup?" And they're like, "Oh, we got some wine." And I was like, "Fuck no." And like grabbed it. I was like, "You can't have this here." It's like, I could get in trouble. Like they couldn't, I would get in trouble.
Right.
But like, it's just like letting outsiders in
Yeah.
to that style of like,
It requires respect on the outsiders
for sure.
behalf too.
Yeah.
Right.
But they didn't realize that. They're like,
Sure,
"Oh shit,
sure,
we had
sure.
no idea." So, but it's just like there's always some sort of cautiousness when it comes to either just interacting with like a different people group, or like when it comes to their food. Just any sort of.
And you would totally have to interact with other people groups if you had a restaurant.
Sure.
So like I
Absolutely.
totally get it. It makes sense. I think we figured that out.
Yeah, we solved the case.
We talked through it. All right. Before we let you go, we've been here for about an hour, so I think it's about time. Can you give me some dirt on, like, have you gotten anything like, does Kevin Costner only eat yellow broccoli or something like? Have you gotten any sort of like heads up?
Actually, I have not.
No.
I haven't though. I know very little about Yellowstone. At this point, like, it's funny because Gator, love him, but it's just my dates keep changing. I was supposed to be gone the second week of September, and then it got pushed back to October 22nd, or no, the second week of October. And then he called me and was like, "We're actually gonna put a pin in Montana, so you're going to Texas with me instead." I was like, "Great."
You just tell me where to go.
And then
buddy.
the next week he called me. He's like, "All right, I'm actually gonna need you back in Yellowstone." And I was like, "Oh man." So I've just been chilling for almost 3 months, which is great.
So what's something funny behind the scenes Res Dog? Like, was there one of the cast members that had like the pickiest palate and only
Absolutely.
ate? Yeah, who would that be, and what was it?
That would be Willie Jack, Paulina.
Okay.
I love her so much dearly, but yeah, she always would literally like would only want chicken and rice. That's all she would want.
Yeah.
It'd be like an exquisite, whatever meal we'd have that day. She'd be like, I kind of just want chicken. Or
Can I
rice.
just get chicken or
Yeah.
rice?
So, but yeah, that was funny. She would always want that. There's one time she didn't like what I was cooking, so she got Subway. So like, so it's just funny. But like, she's a very dear person. So
Sterling would eat your food though.
oh yeah, Sterling loved.
Good.
And that's the thing too. It's like we used to have like supper clubs at Sterling's. I would go.
That's cool.
I'd go to his house and I'd cook dinner, and then we just drink wine all night. So
That sounds like a great supper club to me.
It's a great club. So.
All right, so as we let you go, are you ready to pack for Montana though? Like, do you realize the layers you're going to have to bring?
If this comes to fruition, yes, I am.
Yeah,
Right. Like I
Just-
still have all my, because I lived in Chicago at one point, so I still
Okay,
have like
so you got
Chicago
that,
stuff. So.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm ready to go. I enjoy the outdoors, so
Yeah,
I'm
you'll
looking
have
forward.
fun there.
I say that now.
Yeah,
So,
right. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you for bringing the fritters. I'm going to have
sure.
one more before you
Yeah,
leave.
absolutely.
Those were delicious.
Thank you.
And yeah, when you get back, maybe we'll have you on and we can have some Yellowstone stories.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Absolutely.
Cheers, man.
Hey,
Thanks
cheers.
for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week on the
See you
Tasting
guys.
Room.